Let's go drag racing. Alright, so basically, if you go to these drag races we're going to, everybody basically runs the exact same machine. All of them are an AYP chassis, and they're usually an MST 206 or a 205 in the back, or an 820. I want to do something different. So this is an MTD. MTD is basically anything with this forward, neutral, reverse setup. I started working on this a couple weeks or so ago in order to be able to set up. So originally this was a Briggs V-twin setup. Now the V-twin definitely was a better horsepower motor than this. We've got this opposed in here because it was easy to shoehorn it in and just get up and running. It's a 17 horsepower, it weighs in at 101 pounds right on the dot with exhaust and starter on it. The opposed that we took out of here was a 21 that weighed in at about 90-ish pounds. So we've lost a little bit there, we'll regain it later. As it is right now, we're just going to get this up and running. We're going to take it for a test drive. We're going to see what it is that it's capable of in its not-so-stock setup I have right now. We've got a stock front pulley on it right now. In the rear, you'll see that we have a bulge going on here. That's because we've already gotten in here and we have changed out our pulley system. So this has been changed out, and we'll get to that more. The idler up in here has been changed out to a much bigger pulley. This is usually the size pulley that you find on like Craftsman GT6000s and stuff for their system. And the stock CVT is still in place. Battery has obviously been removed because yet again we want to be reducing weight. We're going to take this entire rear seat assembly, and as much as I would love to go and keep the stock yellow seat and keep the theme as being this Yardman green and yellow idea, these things are slippery. They're extremely slippery. So we're going to swap it out for this Murray seat. These Murrays are a rubbery seat, and they grip, and they also pan down in way deeper than this Yardman seat. We do have one problem we're going to run into as soon as we start to drop the seat, because we're going to drop that whole entire pan down into here. I'm going to take a plasma cutter and I am going to blow out that entire edge in there, except for relocating a couple of mounting bolts to here. But otherwise than that, everything else from this edge to here is all going to get blown out with the plasma cutter, so that we can drop that in just as shallow as possible. Now, why would I want to go with an F&R? And the answer is because we're only doing 150 feet, and so therefore the idea that all I have to do, or she has to do, is punch that pedal and go. That's it. All she's going to do is, it's just like drag racing a snowmobile, is punch and go. So, with the setup we have on right now, it is eating the belt. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's eating the belt. We need to put some sort of integrated idler here, but first I need to show you how it is that system works after we take it for a test drive. Decided to open up the front of the air filter housing in order to go and let it get more air, because this whole area is now open after removing the exhaust. This thing weighs an insane, listen to this sound. That thing weighs an insane 5.5 pounds. Holy cow. So that weighs 5.5 pounds. That's a stock exhaust. This is an exhaust off of a single cylinder Briggs overhead valve. So what I've done is I've taken where the flange is here and I've sliced this off, because I figured out that that would go right over the top of that in order to make a dropout dump pipe, whatever you want to call it. And then this one is going to come over here, and that's going to tack weld onto there, and that'll make the other dump pipe. And that will save us 5.5 pounds of holy cow.
Keep coming. Keep coming. Keep coming.
Alright, a big shout out to Western Auto in Lincolnville, Maine. So we've got a 50-inch belt, we've got a 94, and we got a 93. I'm pretty sure we need the 94. I bought the 93 in case we can tighten it up a little bit. But over here, we should have a 50 figured out at this point. So there's our CVT in back. And then we've got a 5-inch here. We've got a regular idler here. And we've got the big 5-inch idler off of like a Craftsman GT6000. And we've got that assembly working. So now we need to get the belt in the underside situated. Had to add an idler underneath, and we'll cover more of that later. Alright, so here's what I've come up with for the Vari-Drive system that's in this. So, underneath the motor, we've got the original motor pulley, which has been cut down and re-welded into a flip pulley. That goes into right there. So that side of the belt comes through, goes through this idler that I had to go and add for tension, which comes around through, goes through the tensioner idler, which goes this way when it moves in order to engage this belt, which has another idler here, because I had to go and get the belt to come out and around from where this was, so that it could go back through and go in underneath the Vari-Drive pulley, go through the Vari-Drive pulley, go straight up through that frame rail and all the way to the motor. So then back here, as that pulls, it makes this one smaller on the bottom, which makes this one bigger on top, which causes this belt system to expand, which causes this idler tensioner pulley to go this direction, pulling it up against this, using this idler to tension the pulley on the back transaxle, and thus we go and we enjoy drag racing.
Thank you, Vance.
Alright, we had a lot of fun out drag racing, and as you saw from the clip in the beginning of this video, We did end up in last place, but that's not bad for a machine that was built in 3 days, and that's not bad for an MTD that none of them have ever tried. So, we're breaking ground, and we broke ground pretty hard. What we have on it right now is a 17 horsepower opposed twin that literally only stays running for about a minute and a half before it seizes up. This thing is not healthy by any means. It needs to go away. We do have an option for a couple of other motors, one of which I'm kind of leaning towards, but we'll see where we end up going with it. Currently, right now, this machine at about 100 feet tops out at 16 miles per hour. We need to go and be closer into about 22 to 25-ish in order to be competitive. So, this is what's on the engine right now and what is on the transmission for a size. This is a 5.5-inch deck drive pulley. What I'm debating is whether we should do a 7 or whether we should go all the way to a 9. What do you guys think? Should we go 7 or should we go 9 in order to try and be competitive? Watch the video, see how it bogs, give me some input. If there's anything else about this that you'd like to go and know or you'd like to go and see, feel free to comment down below. I don't mind disclosing anything that has to do with this. Whatever parts I had to order or anything, I will try to put in the description for things that I used while doing this. Thank you very much for supporting RCG Racing. Have a good day.